reach?
I believe that he believes his mandate from the American people is to solve illegal immigration. And I would ask you the same question in reverse. Did Joe Biden, when he said he would faithfully uphold and execute the laws of this land, not mean it when he decided to let millions upon millions of people into the country? Because he did not execute the laws.
I thought that you were going to squirm out of that question.
I'm not squirming.
And yes, you did. And that's why I prepared for it, because I want to read you something. At the core of Trump's candidacy is a call for greater executive authority with willful disregard for the constitutional limits placed on our chief executive. Trump especially promises to force individual companies to do things he wants them to do, or else he promises punishment to those who displease him, which appeals to the miserable man at the airport bar. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Exactly.
And here's the deal.
He hasn't changed, so what has changed about you?
And here's the difference between then and now. This country has been invaded. The president was elected to end the invasion. So you changed your opinion on the Constitution? My opinion is the president needs to pull every lever he can to solve illegal immigration.
So you've answered that question by saying you don't mind him being unconstitutional.
Do you believe that every immigrant here is the same? You can't believe that because they're not. They're not.
I do.
There's some good, there's some bad. There's some criminal,
I believe everybody who's here illegally is here illegally. Not all are violent, but all are here illegally.
But how do you differentiate if nobody gets a hearing, if you don't have due process? How do you distinguish one from the other?
So you wrote a new piece called Stop Buying Republican Bull on Immigration. There is no invasion. I mean, that's what all of this is premised on, right? And you said you might think if you're smart, isn't crime at historic lows? You'd be right. You might then question whether there is a, quote, relentless onslaught of anything but hard workers who commit crimes at a lower rate than the up Americans who are accusing them of committing crimes. Let's start with that, right? Basic premise. I mean, say more about that.
Yeah. I mean, this comes from a presidential proclamation. I don't think it was an executive order, but presidential proclamation encouraging that says we will fly you back to your country if you decide to self-deport, and free of charge. And so but the whole thing is framed that there is this, nonstop crime and vagrancy and death and sickness brought on by migrants coming into this country. And it's like objectively untrue. It is objectively untrue that that's happened. And in fact, you could say if you wanted to make stupid inferences, as Republicans like to do, you could say, during a time of a historic surge in the number of migrants, which, yes, that did happen post-COVID, right. Crime actually went down. So you could actually infer from that more migrants means less crime.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to try to, use this for your benefit.
Yeah. Well, it's just, did you just hand me this? Oh, yes. The Republicans want to cut Medicaid, et cetera.
Yep.
Every time we have this fight about, the brown people taking welfare, of course, the vast majority of people are white. Anyway. Okay.
Well, I mean, and that they don't care who they're hurting, who else they're hurting, as long as they're hurting people they think are against them. It's like this stupid thing for the expansion of Wi-Fi access, of internet access to rural areas that they attacked because it had the word equity in it. And it was like, you dummies. It was for
more MAGA voters.
People.
Right. So you say what's encouraging about Democrats directly confronting the increasingly lawless actions of ICE and their increasingly brazenly thuggish behavior is that it shows they're finally giving up on trying to stupidly appease Republicans on border policy. Simply put, there's no appeasing them without mass deportations and suspension of constitutional rights. I mean, you talked about the border bill. We did the Trump, S-canned, right? And you just say, as if it ever makes sense that the estimated 600 of this one gang in the United States are an actual threat. You can arrest them, give them their habeas rights, and then incarcerate them like you would any other criminal found guilty. Thank you. Rude, can we do a historical snapshot? Democrats are just better at this. Bill Clinton arrested and imprisoned more terrorists. They always talk about, Democrats being weak on terror, right?
Yeah.
That was the proper way. Instead of starting big, dumb wars that go on forever, like Afghanistan or Iraq, right? Obama took bin Laden out with one bullet. Bill Clinton put terrorists in prison where they belong. Like, we didn't have to have this whole, war on terror.
And imagine how weak it makes us seem that we are freaking out over what Homeland Security says is an estimated 600 members of this Venezuelan cartel that are in the United States. You know, when they supposedly took over Aurora, Colorado, that was, a big campaign issue. Right. And it's something Stephen Miller screeches about now in that, heinous Hitler voice of his. That there were just, the local law enforcement said there were a dozen. They've only identified a dozen members of Trende, and I'm forgetting the last word.
Something. Yes. Agua?
Yeah.
No. Something.
Anyway,
okay. Anyway.
But that how weak it makes us seem to say, oh my God, we've got to freak out and change everything about the country and our asylum system and our immigration system and suspend habeas corpus because we are so scared of these 600 people.
Yeah.
That aren't trying to take over the country.
And footnote, you said I'd start hammering away on the most blatantly racist thing I've seen in a while, the quick approval of refugee status for white from South Africa. That's literally white privilege. The refugee program was shut down for anyone who was a shade darker than eggshell. Are we using the paint colors? Is that how we determine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said, but here we are telling actual apartheid lovers jump in line. That's an easy story to make people appalled. I mean, they're just, nothing's hidden anymore. No. The racism's right out front.
Yeah, we're just, you know what? These white people, these white people are afraid of something, so we better let them in. And it's just so hilarious, the things that they're saying that these white people are fleeing from. They're fleeing from gangs and from, lack of economic opportunity, which is, totally not true. The vast majority of farmland in South Africa is still owned by white people.
Yeah.
But it's the very things that refugees from, El Salvador and Nicaragua and Guatemala and Ecuador are all saying too. And instead, we're going to just let these white people jump the line because they're white and have some money.
So, you retweeted an Indian government source says a ceasefire was worked out directly between India and Pakistan. And you said you don't understand. They agreed to a ceasefire while Trump is president, so he is by extension responsible for. However, if a war had started, it would have been Biden's fault. That's how the world works now. I mean, not to mention it, he takes credit and it falls apart like in a second. And it just, how often? And then we're like, I'm negotiating with China, and then China's like, no, we haven't talked. I mean, Jamie Gangel had said 0 ships from China are bound for California's top ports. Officials haven't seen that since the pandemic. And you just said someone tell the dock workers about all the money we're saving. I mean, everything he says on this is nonsense. There is no new deal with China. He just, as we keep saying, starts a fire. He puts it out. He goes, look what I did. I mean, and the fire's not even out. There's not even a deal yet.
There's no deal. There's this 90-day lowering of tariffs. And even, 30% tariffs on stuff coming in from China is still really high. It is still going to raise the prices of things.
I mean, it's just the thing he just said when he's like, they said the ports are empty. He's like, well, that's good. We're saving $1 trillion. And you're like, what are you talking? Like, here, okay, somebody explain this in a really good way for me on social media, Rude. Like, we buy $1 trillion of stuff from them.
Right.
We give them $1 trillion. They give us $1 trillion of stuff. That's we're not saving $1 trillion if you stop all trade. It just, like, it's such.
Don't you understand? If you want money from Donald Trump, you are by definition screwing him over.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Which I think says a lot about the people that he did business with, frankly.
Right. So let's talk about this plane for a minute before we go. So, yes, Adam says, someone tell the New York Times that Hillary's accepting a plane from Qatar. Then maybe they'll start covering it for the corruption that it is. I keep saying it because it's all out in the open now. They try to pretend it's not corruption. But I don't know if you think Chris is right that I don't know if this is going to happen. Even the right wing is like, we're a terrorist funding Middle Eastern country.
I don't think
we're taking a plane.
Right. I don't think his supporters will let it happen.
What do you think?
No. When Laura Loomer comes out against it, you've lost the crazies, and really, it's a crazies-based economy at this point in political system.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous for them and then he's saying, well, it's actually a gift to the Defense Department, and then it will be gifted to the Trump presidential library.
Which makes it even more of a bribe.
For my private use after I get out of office. And I'm sitting there going, I just filled out my financial disclosure form. All right, I have to fill out a financial disclosure form. I am not allowed. I'm not allowed. If a student wants to give me tickets to a Knicks game or something.
Oh, you're not suggesting that, but you'd love to see the Knicks, wouldn't you? Wink.
Yeah, sure. No, actually, I don't give a damn at all. But
okay. All right, the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if a student wanted to give me tickets to a Broadway play or something like that,
yeah.
I would have to say, no, I can't do that because it's not allowed.
Right.
That would violate my ethics code.
I'm sure your dad had to turn down many gifts that were offered to him.
Yeah, well, I bet probably there was a unibrow removal service that he could have given me normal eyebrows if he'd wanted to, but no, he was too upstanding.
Exactly.
Oh, hey there, it's Stephanie Miller. If you're like me and you love sharp political insight, pointy, you like it pointy and sharp, bold opinions, and a touch of humor to make sense of these crazy times, have I got some fantastic news for you. The Political Voices Network is now on Substack. This is your new go-to for the best in independent media. We're talking about my show streaming daily with episodes on demand, the fearless of journalism of Brian Karem, the brilliant side-splitting satire of John Fugelsang, the unrelenting working class advocacy of Rick Smith, and so much more. Here's the best part. Subscribing is so easy. You can join for free or go to the extra mile. Support these incredible independent voices by signing up for a full subscription starting at just $8. You'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and a chance to directly fuel fearless, unfiltered media. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the movement keeping truth alive in an era of corporate media overload. Every subscription helps, especially yours. One more time, that is politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Sign up now. Do it.